The fifth principle is spend time with Jesus. There are three philosophies that we can consider as operating principle for us. One is the principle of doing. And that's the way the world operates. It is a very pragmatic world, and our identity is centered on doing. And when we meet one another, we in fact ask, "What's your name?" And then the next thing we ask, "What do you do?" And so when the focus is on doing, we may become very activist Christians. But you know something? When your identity is very closely linked with your job, your achievements, your possessions, and your roles, in old age, when you start losing these things, like you retire from your job, then you don't know who you are. Because it's your doing that has been used to define your identity. A better philosophy, one that is older, coming from the ancient world, is the philosophy of being. No longer emphasizing the doing. Doing is important, but deeper than doing is being. We need to focus on who we are rather than what we do. Because who we are determines what we do. That allows us to actually consider what's going on in our inner lives. Who are we actually deep inside us? Not just what we do. And when our focus is on that, maybe we have better resources in our inner lives. We know ourselves better in terms of who we are. So even though you're no longer working actively, you're retired, your health may be declining, some of your friends may be disappearing, you still know who you are. Your being has been nurtured. But I'd like to suggest that a biblical principle is even deeper than being. And the biblical principle is being with. Because being with God is the most important principle in life. When the Apostle Paul was writing to the Philippians in chapter 1, he thought that he was going to die. He's going to be sentenced to death. He was in death row. So he opens his heart and he shared to the Philippian Christians. He said, "I'm not sure how long I will live. And I'm actually torn between two possibilities. One is I will soon die." And he says, actually, if that happens, I'm very happy because I will be with the Lord, he said. I will be with the Lord. And then he says, but maybe the Lord has a purpose for me to live on, to carry on for some time. And then he said, if that happens, I'm also happy because I will be with you all. I will be with God's people. You can see that Paul's entire life and ministry is defined by these two words, being with. Being with God and being with others. That is the central purpose of life. And that is why Jesus said the entire law and the prophets can be summarized in two ways. Love God with all your heart, soul, mind, strength. That is to be with God in that kind of way. And love your neighbors as you love yourselves. In other words, learn to be with others. Because that's why you have been created, to be with God and to be with our neighbors. So, I think we need to understand this, and we need to take sufficient time to be with Jesus especially. As we grow older, we probably have more time. You don't have to get up, dress up, drive to your working place or take an MRT to your working place and do this every day. Now you are freer, you have more time, and you should use the time to be with Jesus, because every day, every moment, every hour that you put into this, you invest into this time with Jesus, has eternal results. Better than earthly pursuits. Okay, so you went to the cinema, but whether it has eternal effects or not is not very clear. or you go and watch a match, a sports match, again, or you go on a tour, on a trip, on a cruise, whether they have eternal significance or not is questionable. But time with Jesus is always significant eternally. So we have to invest our time. One of our problems is affluenza, a term that was coined by the psychologist Oliver James in the book with the same title, Affluenza. Now that is a combination of two words, affluence and influenza. He says that actually we are infected with the affluenza virus. And in that book, he actually offers a checklist, and he says, just say yes or no. You go through this checklist, it will tell you, this is the affluenza test, it will tell you whether you have been infected or not. And some people tick yes to everything, and they are deeply infected. But the test that I've given in many occasions eventually will show that everybody is infected. Maybe heavily infected, maybe lightly infected, but everybody is infected. And what is this affluenza really? It is defined as placing a high value on acquiring money and possessions, looking good in the eyes of others, and wanting to be famous. So this acquisitiveness, to buy, to store up, to gather for ourselves wealth and possessions, and then this thing about looking good in the eyes of others, and thirdly, wanting to be famous, is something that I think has infected the world and many people in the world. And as we grow in our senior years, the only way we can counter this deadly disease is to spend time with Jesus. Time with Him will give us a new perspective, a different perspective, a different purpose in life, and a different habit in life. In the Garden of Eden, you have Satan coming to tempt Adam and Eve. And God had created them, put them in a garden, and He wanted to have fellowship with them. And basically, the way God treated them, He reminded them that the purpose of life is to know someone. Of course, the biggest someone is God, and the smaller someone is the spouse. Adam and Eve were brought together. So the purpose of life is to know someone. But Satan came and he twisted the whole thing, and he tried to bluff them, and he said the purpose of life is to know something. So he promised that if they ate from this forbidden fruit, they will gain knowledge. They will gain something, information, knowledge, and that they will become even like God. So purpose of life is to know something, whereas the original purpose of God is to know someone. And throughout human history, there's been this big lie of Satan that the human race has taken in, line, hook, and sinker. We need to correct ourselves and recognize that maybe the most profound thing that we can say at the end of our lives is not "I thought," as the philosophers would say, or "I did, but I loved." Not "I thought, I did, but I loved." And I think as long as we remember this, we will be motivated to spend time with Jesus. After all, we are going to be with Jesus forever. So better start here on earth, because we are going to do much more of that in heaven. So we need to prepare ourselves for life in heaven by learning some of the things that we will be doing, and doing those very things here, even in this life.